Okay, thank you so much. We're here together with Edina. I'm so happy to be having Edina share her story today. It actually takes me back to why I started this platform in the first place, which was to give a platform to people who have been through, pretty devastating situations in our system and who have experienced some depths of darkness that are on a healing journey and sharing what is working for them, what they are doing, and this is actually going to also be, this is in real time, we're going to be hearing Edina, what she's going through and how we can help to support her as well. So at the end of the call, there's going to be a amazing call to action of how we can actually tangibly all help Edina through what she's going through. And it's really important for me to share Edina's story. She's been an inspiration to myself and so many. I've, witnessed her persevere through incredible healing hurdles and just share, because at those times is when usually we don't feel we have a voice. We are in too much pain. We can't even share. And right now, there's a window here that we can have Edina share her story, what she is currently going through, and how we can all learn something from this, how we can all help and rally to support, because that's what we do here as a community and kind humans that are, all healing together and sharing our stories of how we can help so many other people who may be going through this or will go through this in the future or know someone who has. So Edina, I want to give you the floor. Please just share from your heart what you're going through and your story.
Thank you so much, Allison. Yes, what I've been going through is an invisible disease, which actually is not invisible at all. It's just unknown to the Western medical system. And so for 18 years, I've been battling this quote unquote invisible disease, invisible disability that people don't see because I look totally normal. But when I have a flare up, I'm totally incapacitated. Not only is my whole body inflamed and in chronic pain, but I can't function. My brain doesn't work. Like I have brain fog through the roof. I can't get through the day. And this has just been something that has plagued me my whole life. I was diagnosed with, they called it rheumatoid arthritis at age 14. But myself, including the doctors, we all knew that it was not rheumatoid arthritis. We just didn't know what else to call it. And in my years of research, like very recently, I'm learning that a lot of people that have inflammatory diseases that are told they have some kind of arthritis don't all actually have arthritis. They have some kind of viral or underlying infection that's causing reactive arthritis. And so I spent years being told that my immune system is weak, that my body is attacking itself, that I'm never going to get off 7 medications, and that my situation is never going to improve. And my situation was chronic. I was on Humira injections, which is $1,800, taking those shots once a week. Thankfully, they're covered in Ontario, and in the States, they're not. So people are paying, I don't know how, paying $1,800 per shot per week, or usually it's once a month, but my situation was so severe I needed it weekly. I was taking methotrexate, prednisone, painkillers, sleeping pills, and regular rounds of antibiotics because I kept getting sick. And I didn't know why I kept getting sick, but that makes a lot more sense now. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But I didn't want to be defined by this diagnosis. And, it took my ability away to be able to do the things I love, like hiking, climbing trees, like it just like kind of threw my whole world upside down. And I was like, I don't want to be defined by this. So my first phase of taking my power back was movement. And so I started stretching 4 hours a day, every single day for 6 months straight. This was when I was 18 years old. And through working with the nervous system and breath work and stretch, I was able to completely open up my body, which then turned into obsession with contortion because I just loved the fluidity. I loved the freedom that someone, a contortionist, what they can do with their body. It was the exact opposite. And so I became a self-taught contortionist, and it was incredibly painful to do what I'm doing. It's already very intense for a regular person, but for someone like me, who couldn't even sit cross-legged, it was really like a challenge to just cross my ankles, and that's where I started. My practice with movement really helped to open up my body, strengthen my joints. And today, now that I know what my condition is, I've learned that if it wasn't for contortion, I would be in a wheelchair today, because the infection that I have, it's a viral type of pneumonia infection, and it causes reactive arthritis. And this virus actually feeds off of bones, tissue, and ligaments. So if I was not actually actively stretching my joints and causing some tissue damage and encouraging my immune system to repair, I wouldn't have built up I wouldn't have built back my bones, my tissues, and my ligaments, which is like a constant journey for me. When I have the flare up and the damage, then I have to repair the damage. So movement was the first thing. And then the second thing, which is just shocking, for 18 years, no doctor ever talked to me about gut health or diet. So my second phase of healing was my nutrition. And I'd struggled for years to find the right optimal nutrition. I tried all sorts of different foods, even eating organic. Nothing changed my depressive, anxious state or my suicidal tendencies, because I was really impacted by these drugs. And this diet none of these foods was actually making a difference on my mental health or my physical health. And I didn't have the willpower to fight for cravings anyways. And so when I discovered Purium, it was a total game changer for me, because first of all, it allowed me to lower my C-reactive protein. And that's the biomarker for inflammation. And for anybody suffering with any kind of inflammatory disease, the first thing you want to do is be able to lower your inflammation in your body. That right there took down 50% of the anxiety and depression, because inflammation in the brain causes depression. It lowered inflammation in my body, and for the first time, I was faced with the opportunity to be able to lower my medications. In the past, I could never do that. If I tried, I'd end up in the hospital. Things would be really bad. So I was introducing Purium into my life, living this lifestyle, repairing my gut health, and just flooding my body with organic nutrition that has no glyphosate in it, which 3 years ago, I would have rolled my eyes at the idea of GMO free, glyphosate free. I didn't make that connection. But all you have to do is really experience it to believe it. And to be able to walk without pain, to be able to lower my medications, was convincing enough for me. And I thought, there's a chance here that I can get off my drugs. And so that's exactly what I started to do with Purium. I started lowering all of my medications successfully. I had a few relapses, but the healing isn't linear, right? And I didn't let adversity stop my vision. And I went so far as to get off every single one of my medications and lower my prednisone significantly. So by 3.5 years on this Purium lifestyle, I was just on the smallest dose of prednisone, which is huge. That's 7 medications that I was no longer addicted to. I also was getting less infections in my body, because this nutrition was helping me fight pathogens. It was boosting my immunity. So I was getting sick less, and I wasn't taking antibiotics for 3 years, which was amazing. But part of my journey, what I didn't realize what I was facing, was a misdiagnosis. So as I started to lower my medications, and for a while, 3 years, things were really stable, my body started to shut down with the prednisone, which was really scary for me. The prednisone was destroying my body. I had 2 pulmonary embolisms, and I'm a healthy, active, fit circus performer, eating organic, whole foods, superfoods, gut health. The doctors didn't know what was going on. And just I prayed and I prayed, and I asked whoever, I don't know, the universe, I was please tell me, why is my whole body inflamed? And the message I received was to show you that the medication prednisone is no longer working for you anymore. And it was a powerful moment with, I guess, I don't know, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, but I trusted that voice that I heard, enough to get off my prednisone the next day. I was already at like a half a dose, so 2.5 milligrams, like a really small dose. And as soon as I got off of it, my body went into shock. So all my hair started falling out. I had hair down to my butt. I ended up having to cut it because I was going bald. My whole body went into shock. So I was in chronic pain because steroids is a nerve blocker. And all of a sudden my nerves were firing. So I was having muscular skeletal pain throughout my body, nerve pain. My skin hurt, like goosebumps hurt, like pins and needles, like everything. I couldn't move my body. I couldn't squeeze a bottle of toothpaste. I couldn't flush the toilet. And I decided that I was going to have to go through this process and really be with it, which was the hardest thing ever because I had to take a year off of work and a year off of performing. I lost all my flexibility. I lost all my strength. I was so unwell that I couldn't even work my online business, like being in front of a phone, like what I'm doing right now. I didn't have the capacity to do that. It was a very big shift for me to have everything taken and so drastically. And I thought I was crazy. Like, I know a lot of people thought I was crazy for being off of these medications. And, I didn't have any proof either, right? Everything got worse before it got better. So I had to reinstill my vision every day that message that I heard was real. Slowly, like after 4 months, things started to progress. Things started to get better. My hair stopped falling out finally. The pain started to diminish. I still had to build back my flexibility and my strength from square one. And stretching my body with my coach was incredibly painful. It was more like working with my nervous system because my nervous system had completely changed since getting off the medication. So I had to readapt my endurance for intensity in my body, range of motion, but also like my endurance for pain. And that was a very long journey in and of itself. And what really helped me through this steroid withdrawal was Purium, because once again, I was using this nutrition to flood my system with the most amazing bioavailable nutrition that gave me immediate energy. Like, I'm talking, I couldn't even get out of bed in the morning. I couldn't walk at all. I had zero appetite because steroid withdrawal just gives you crazy mood swings, takes away your hunger. I had no access to thirst or hunger, didn't feel it at all, wouldn't have eaten a thing if it wasn't for this liquid nutrition, immediate like protein intake, and also helped to detox prednisone from my system, which was really essential to get as much of this drug out of my body because my body went into shock after 18 years of being on this medication. And I needed to support my system so much. And around this time where I'm going through the steroid withdrawal, my whole life is turned upside down and I'm isolated in this reality. I learned that I was misdiagnosed, and that's because I found a practitioner, an incredible doctor. His name's Dr. Huey, and he's an integrative medicine practitioner. And when I went to see him, he knew exactly right away what to test me for. And unfortunately, it's all out of pocket. I wish it was covered under OHIP. This is the issue with our healthcare system. I was abandoned by the system. I was not given proper testing. They just kind of left me on these drugs for 18 years. And so my journey to recovery with my doctor, Dr. Huey, was cleaning out a viral pathogen from my bloodstream, which was causing reactive arthritis. And the second part of my healing journey with this doctor was overcoming the damage done by all these medications, particularly prednisone. So really strengthening my mitochondria by using methylene blue, strengthening my immune system with chronic fatigue drip. It's all IV drips, and it's like a cocktail of vitamins and minerals because I was having absorption issues. And like a lot of people that go on this Purium lifestyle are experiencing absorption issues, and Purium helped me 50% of the way. But I really needed something more because just the sheer volume of drugs I was taking regularly for 18 years just set my body into shock. And so really like learning about this diagnosis was a huge component to my healing, because you need to know what you have to fix it. but also just like rewiring my mindset around my body, because for years I was told by medical practitioners that my immune system is weak and that my body is attacking itself and that I'll never get better and I'll never get off my medications. And I believed the system so much that I was like learned hopelessness. I gave up, right? And so as my body started to detox these drugs and the treatment started to do its work, I started to see that my immune system was actually incredible, really, really strong. I started to get back momentum. My body just started rehabilitating itself. And that was really like the silver lining for me, because being off of work and in chronic pain for a year with no medication to hinge on was one of the hardest acts of faith I ever had to move through. Sorry, it's emotional. And every day I had to tell myself that I trust my decision, you know,
Yeah.
even if everything was worse. And I'm telling you, things got worse before they got better, because obviously my body went into shock with the steroids, but then I still continued to have flare-ups. And at this point, the only support that I was using for flare-ups was electromagnetic wave frequency, which is a very non-invasive way to fight bacterial and viral infections in the body without needing antibiotics. And of course, Purium nutrition and supporting my gut health and my immune function. So those were the two things that I relied on, but I continued to have flare-ups. I continued to have to drain my knees. I questioned the whole way if I should get back on my drugs. And then knowing that the drugs are what caused these blood clots in my lungs, it was like so scary. I was like, I'm just going to deal with this flare up. And the treatments have been the most transformational thing of my life. I did 20 sessions. They're all out of pocket. So each session is like $1,000 or more, depending how many ozone passes you do. And it's really brought, like, I got my life back. I was able to work a little bit again. I had 2 performances I was able to do, like I'm functioning. After 20 sessions, this virus was cleared from my system. The arthritis was gone. And it was a huge, huge, huge celebration, like a massive investment, like over 35 grand spent since September. But to see that this treatment, it's called ozone therapy, to see its effectiveness and that it's not in our Western medical hospitals and it's not available to us is really like a scary thing. To see how they pushed drugs and medications on me. When I talk about ozone therapy to any of my doctors, they have no idea what I'm talking about, or some will even like deny its effectiveness. I even receive ozone gas injections directly into my knees, which literally wipes out the infection within 3 hours. All the pain is gone. It's just a gas. It's not even, I mean, the needle is a little painful, but the gas going in, it just feels like pressure. Immediately, like radically kills this infection, takes away the arthritis. And I have doctors who tell me like, I need to see the evidence. I'm like, the evidence is I can walk in 3 hours. That's the evidence, you know? And so these treatments were really, really effective. And I was successful in eradicating this from my body. And then I stopped treatment over the holidays and everything came back worse. It first started off with like flu-like symptoms. Like I was really, really sick, like worse than COVID. Migraines, like sensory overload, panic attacks, depression, all these weird symptoms. And then like bloating and diarrhea, nausea, like everything just went out of whack. And then of course the flare-up started happening. And the flare-up was so bad. It was in my entire body, not just my knees. I went back to see my practitioner and I was like, what's going on? And he was like, you had a negative PCR test. That concludes that we wiped it out. So the fact that it's back means there's a source where this virus is hiding in your body. And he asked me to open my mouth. I was like, what the hell are you looking for? The arthritis is in my knees, it's in my hands. Like, what are we looking for here? And he starts feeling at the back of my gums, top and bottom, squishing around. He's like, does this hurt? And I was like, like it was really sensitive. But I never like feel my gums back there to really know, right? It's all tucked away and safe. And he was like, it shouldn't hurt like that at all. And he said, have you had any root canals or wisdom teeth extracted? And I said, I had all 4 wisdom teeth extracted in 2018. And he said, I want you to go to this dentist in Hamilton. He used to practice cavitation, but not anymore because he was shut down from doing that. And I can touch on that a little bit later. So I went to see him and we did a cone beam scan. And it's basically like a 3D scan that splices up your gums. So it has like more, just more view of what's going on internally. And it was confirmed that I have 3 holes in my jaw that never grew in, bone never grew back. It's been 6 years. 4 abscesses, basically a pocket of infection containing a host of germs. So one thing that we tested for was candida. So no wonder I was so sick over the holidays. I had candida in my head, and candida can also lead to reactive arthritis. Parasites can hide in there. It's like a perfect breeding ground for viruses, germs, fungi, and the ozone treatment that I do can't penetrate the jaw. So it's a perfect place. And unfortunately, there's no surgeons in Canada that will open me up and take this infection out. It's crazy. Cavitation surgery is controversial because it has the potential to put root canals out of business. A lot of the College of Physicians are really deeply invested in their mode and method for treating dental issues, and they make a lot of money this way, but also their scientific work is at risk and they want to uphold all their research, right? And so dentists that have practiced cavitation surgery and were saving people's lives essentially had their practices shut down because the College of Physicians banded together and shut these practices down. So my next journey was vetting surgeons in the States because there was no options in Canada. And I was able to find 5 places, Utah, Manhattan, Arizona, Texas, and there was one in Alberta as well. I did find one place because of you in Quebec, but unfortunately they don't do general sedation. And because my condition is so severe, I can't do like one section and then come back and heal and then go and do a second. Like this would have taken like a 6-month period and I'm high risk for infection. So I needed the type of situation where I go in, they put me under and they do all 4 extractions of the infection. And also how they clean it out is super important. So it's not just like cut me open and wash out the infection. We need ozone irrigation, and all my treatment is ozone gas injection, ozonating my blood. It's basically an extra oxygen molecule that breaks off in the body and fights pathogens. And so oxygen ozone therapy is a huge, huge support. It's made a massive difference for me. And so what I need for surgery is they need to do an incision and clean out the area, scrape out any necrosed bone or tissue, but then also irrigate it with ozonated water and then inject it with ozone gas, because we have all these microcapillaries underneath the area where we've had, wisdom teeth removed. And pathogens can crawl into these little microcapillaries and hide. So even if you're washing out the cavity, if you sew it back up, these pathogens are still in there. So the ozone gas actually travels into these pathways and they wipe out anything that's inside there. And then also platelet-rich fibrin will be packed in there to support the healing, because I need that extra boost and support. And so this kind of biologic holistic dentistry is really what I need, and it's only available in the States, unfortunately, in the conditions that I need it. And ultimately, I decided to go with Texas because the dentist was very familiar with the viral infection I've had since birth. And he says that it's very common that he finds this inside the cavitation sites with his patients. So it's very exciting to know that he's familiar with this infection, this viral infection, that he knows its impact on our systemic health, and that his practice is truly holistic, like treating the mouth and the jaw as a whole with the body, because really, like, we have meridians connected to our teeth. And lots of people are dealing with autoimmune issues, inflammatory diseases, cancers, heart attacks, stroke. These are all connected to our dental issues. And the more we dig, the more we see that, like, women who are having breast cancer, let's say in their left breast, have had a root canal on the left side of their jaw. And we've had dental issues in my family. My parents have gum disease. They just went to Turkey 2 weeks ago and had all their teeth pulled. It was something that they had to do because they just didn't have any other options. Like here in Canada, dental is so expensive. Just to repair 3 of their teeth would have been 30 grand. They both had top and bottom extraction and cleaned out, and they had some zirconian implants put in for 30,000 for both of them for all their teeth. So like the thing with dentals, it's just so expensive. But the reason why I share my parents' story is since they've had all their teeth extracted, all of their arthritis pain is gone.
Mhm.
And that's literally 2 days after the surgery. So they have a lot more faith now instilled in my journey, because in the beginning, we're all wondering, is this going to work? How real is this? Like, how much can we trust a cone beam scan? Like, all these thoughts come up. But after the experience, my parents are like, I have so much faith in this surgery for you to change this lifelong systemic infection, because no matter what I do with fitness, with optimal like hydration and nutrition, there's only so much I can do. And I've done everything in my power to get off my medications, to detox my body of drugs, to strengthen my immune system, to eat optimally and improve my gut health, and to be active and healthy in my life, with a strong spiritual practice. I mean, I've done everything in my power, but this is where I need medical intervention. And it's super exciting to finally be in a position where I'm surrounded by practitioners who know exactly what I have and who know exactly what to do, because I spent 18 years being told that it's a mystery and that I'm never going to get better and there's no hope for me. And so just the languaging, like the internal dialogue of my situation and how I view my body and my immune system has changed dramatically. And the reason why I feel so compelled to share my story is because so many people are suffering with quote unquote invisible disease or invisible disability. There's no such thing as invisible. There's a reason for all of it. It's just that our medical system is so deeply, deeply flawed. It's so flawed, and it can make you feel like you're crazy, like, and give you all sorts of labels. Like they threw all kinds of mental health drugs at me, and I believed it. And I was on Ativan and Ciprolex and like all sorts of SSRIs. And I'm so happy I'm over that journey. And I can't wait. Like my mental health has improved drastically just from nutrition alone and just from these treatments that I've received. So I feel like it's going to be night and day as soon as the surgery is complete.
Wow. I'm just so happy you're here to share your story right now. I witnessed what you went through in this last flare up, and I was praying for you every single day. It was just like to watch someone go through that level of suffering, and it was visible. So we saw it, and
Mhm.
to and I know what your body's been through, the work you've put into your body, and to I know how these flare-ups will take you out. And like you were saying, you have to relearn everything from scratch when we rebuild. But I have no doubt that you will, because you've done this now a few times. You've rebuilt yourself. And I have no doubt that this will be an even more incredible comeback story than ever before. And so, yeah, I just wanted to, there was a few things you touched on. I just wanted to just highlight, because what was so important was that Dr. Huey knew what to test for. Like, that is most of the battle, is they just don't even know what to test for. So they'll throw those labels or those medication treatments at a symptom. But like you said, it's not holistic, and it's not looking at the big picture. It's looking at the isolated, like, oh, you have inflammation in your knees, let's just deal with that, your knees. And it's like to have to have that doctor, someone who's educated enough to look in your mouth, and to ask the right questions, just gives me, it gives me hope, but also makes me just wish there was more people like that, more doctors who are trained in these ways. And it just breaks my heart, amount of people like ourselves, who have been through that ringer of the medical system and been put through so much unnecessary medical intervention that we now have to, it's a whole other process of healing from those things. And that's why these conversations are so important, because we need to advocate for ourselves. We need to know our doctors don't know the questions to ask. They don't know what to look for. So if we educate ourselves, we can save ourselves. We're the only ones here that can save us, and yes, there's people out there in Texas and this, but you had to educate yourself enough to research who to look for and what you need, because that would not just be presented to you in any way. You would, if you weren't someone who was asking those questions and digging deeper into your soul to ask your intuition what you're needing, it's, and for some people, like, they're so disconnected from that source energy because of all these medications that they're on. So luckily you were able to, I think, heal enough that you can get that clarity.
Yes.
It's like in stages of healing, right?
And that's what Purim was for me. It was like a gateway, a portal, because it just lifted the fog and it made me see myself and my life in a whole new light, and my capacity to do so much more than I've ever dreamed of. And if it wasn't for that lifestyle and nutrition, I wouldn't have had that clarity, and I wouldn't have started searching again for answers. I wouldn't have been even inspired to think I can get off my drugs, or to think that I could live a life without medication, or even discover what my diagnosis is.
Yes, hope is so important. And so even just catching a glimpse of that hope, like catching a glimpse of what it feels like to feel really good in your body, like even if it's just, you're getting it temporarily here and there, you're going to get that vision. Oh, this is how I'm supposed to feel. And until we feel it, we don't know, because so many of us are going through life in normalized suffering, right? Like things that you probably normalized from your, that your invisible illness, that you had just been like, I guess this is how I have to live my life. And you don't even, until you catch that glimpse of what it could feel like to feel back to that perfect self, that we're born to be, like, as much as our, our potential can let. So I know that you're going to get there. Like, I can feel the, and you're giving so many hope by your journey and your hope. So that's amazing. And I love that you said it has to get worse before it gets better. So I think for a lot of people, what stops them from going down this healing journey or getting off that medication is that fear, right? That you are going to have to go through that discomfort.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was like my adrenals stopped working. My thyroid stopped functioning at full capacity. And I was getting blood clots. My body wasn't digesting food. I had severe bloating. I couldn't eat or breathe. My body was shutting down. And so that, to me, gave me enough incentive to go through the chronic pain and systemic flare-ups. Because at least, like, I couldn't get out of bed or walk much, and I was in pain, but at least I wasn't on death's doorstep, because blood clots are super dangerous, and I had 2 in my lungs.
Yeah. Yeah. No, coming from nature girl to nature girl, I'd rather suffer with what nature is like throwing at me than some synthetic, man-made thing, because that we actually have no, like, at least with pain, we're capable of dealing with so much more than we even know. And, as much as it's going to be a discomfort, for anyone getting off of whatever medication they're on or addiction they're overcoming or thing they have to go through, it's way better to face it. And as much as it's almost like it's so scary, it takes a warrior, but we can do it. We can go through things that are hard, because the easier way is going to lead to more hard and more suffering. So better that you go through that. Maybe there's going to be that, and I know I dealt with it just getting off my own medications, that really uncomfortable period. And, depending on our level of wherever we're at, what we're getting off of and how long we've been on it, it's going to be harder for some than others, but it's just, that's part of that we got to go through some hard things to get to the other side. And I think it's an important lesson. And so for anyone facing these things, it's like, this is actually going through these pain is what's going to give us that reward. We're going we're capable, we're going to see what we're capable of too. And yeah, that's really, yeah, it's really building in ourself. We need to go through those things. So I want to encourage people who have that, because even me, I have that road ahead with my dental worth, because I've had 5 extractions, not done the right way because of, well, when I first got my wisdom teeth done, didn't know anything. I was asleep. They just told me, this is what you have to do. And I just went through the motions of what we're told. And,
Yeah.
and then having every single one of my teeth, drilled and filled with mercury. I recently, a few years ago, went and got them all changed, for
Yeah.
amalgam. But still there's holes that are like, and there's things, and I know so watching your journey definitely is, I'm not going to say, I hope I don't have to go through what you're going through, but I do think that, more of us are going to be dealing with these issues going down the line, because all of us have been through the ringer in that dental system that, like you said, was not holistic. So it was really just dealing with whatever they're taught to deal with, and they're just not taught the big picture of how it affects our body. So I know that that movie really inspired you, as it did for me, The Root Cause. I want to encourage everyone to watch that, because even if you don't have these issues, it's important, there's going to be people in your life. These symptoms are going to come up, and it's important we're educated, that we know what kind of, like, this will teach you what kind of questions to ask or what to look for. And we absolutely need to educate ourselves. So I know that movie definitely, yeah, that
Yeah.
inspired you.
That movie explained every single mystery symptom that I was dealing with, like the mental health symptoms, like the random panic attacks and the drop in energy. And then they were talking about like incredible sensitivity to sound, where like I didn't go out anymore. I isolated my house in total silence, couldn't go anywhere. I stopped driving. I couldn't get behind the wheel, couldn't handle the sensory overload. I developed a severe chemical sensitivity. Like I could not be around anything that had any smell whatsoever. I would right away vomit or have a migraine, and I would be bedridden for like 2 days on my inhaler because my lungs cannot breathe at all. Bronchial cough, like all these strange things started to happen. In that documentary, described every single one of them. I cried. I
Mhm.
was like, oh my God, like
That movie
I'm
had such a
crazy.
yeah. I had such a reaction. That movie made me faint. I passed out cold. Like, I watched it for the first, I think, few minutes, and I woke up on the floor. Jared was like waking me up. Like, I had fainted, because obviously it hits a very deep chord. So I think a lot of us, this could be a really big awakening for a lot of people to, seek ask some questions, some of the right questions, and get to the root of things. And, I want people to know how they can support you and follow your journey. So please share all the ways, definitely to follow your journey and follow you on your socials. And I know you have a GoFundMe. So if you could just share, we're going to post it on in the link here as well. So for people who,
So the first way that you can help me and other people is to share my GoFundMe, because in my GoFundMe is my story. So I really ask all of you to it's 10 minutes. I timed it. Take 10 minutes to read my story, to really understand what's going on. And if you have, it in your hearts, and you want to support me, then just take the link and share it to your socials, share it with family members, send it in an email, post it to your stories. Um, because it really does help me to gain exposure with the donations, because my treatments in total, by the time everything is said and done, will be well over $50,000. And right now we're raising funds for 20,000, and I'm very close to my goal. I'm about like 1,500 and something away from my goal. And this 20,000 is really going to help me have immediate treatment every single week. Each week it's $1,000 to do the blood transfusion, and then it's going to help with the airline, like our costs for travel, our transportation, accommodation, and my surgery, of course.
yeah.
And then while I'm in the States, I need to do 2 blood transfusions while there, and they're each $2,000. And it's critical that I'm cleaning out these pathogens post-op, so that we're actually wiping it out and eradicating it for good, and so that I'm functional and just having access to immediate treatment, like this week and next week and the weeks before that followed. It was made possible because of your donations. This $20,000 that I'm trying to raise is really to help support family to lift the burden because they have already done so much. We've all done so much. We put so much on our credit card. I mean, it's just the way it has to be. And I'm 33 years old. I got a lot of life ahead of me. So I see this as a really important investment, but also sharing this story will show people what's out there and what's possible. And if you have any questions, like if you want to know what practitioners I see, what kind of holistic care that I receive on the side of ozone therapy, I would love to give you phone numbers and connection and access to these practitioners who have made a world of a difference for me that can really support you and your loved ones. And so I want to be the bridge, basically like a book of resources for all of you to share everything that's working for me, because otherwise you just won't know what's available. So yeah, really sharing my story, talking about my story. If you have $5, $10, $20 or anything to donate, I really deeply appreciate this. And just knowing that I have that many people standing behind me in this mission is giving me so much strength because I was terrified when I found out I had to go through surgery. I was so scared and I had all these doubts. And the more people backed me, the more strength, the more it fortified my vision, the more I feel empowered and just I feel the love. And honestly, all of your support has really helped give me strength to heal me through this. Like half of the healing is the mental, emotional, psychological component of that. So, to everyone who has already shared and shared again, and for everyone who's donated, thank you so much. And please take the time, to read my story and watch my video and share this so other people can.
And we're all going to be learning along the way. I appreciate that you're sharing not everyone shares their story and not everyone has the energy to share their story or the capacity, but you're going I know it's out of your comfort because it's just so important to you. And so you're going out of your way to share all these resources. And so and thank you to everyone who has donated already. And please, we're going to have the link available for everyone. And thank you for sharing the resources along the way. I know they can also support you by your Superfoods link. So, for all those gut repair modalities you're using and heavy metals detox for getting off medications and all these things. I know you're an amazing resource of so many tools to be able to help people. So you're using your story, your healing it's not just for you, it's for everyone. So I really appreciate you, sharing your story, what you're going through and the solutions, because I know that it's going to save lives. So
Yeah, it will. And follow me. So we'll put the links for my Instagram so you can follow my journey. I have a YouTube page dedicated to just this part of my life. So you can see like all the different treatments, transitions, my journey. I'll be documenting everything there, how the surgery goes, the EBOO machine that I'll be doing, this cutting edge technology for blood transfusions. I'm going to be documenting everything. So it'll be really interesting. And definitely watch The Root Cause. That will empower you to make the best decisions for your oral health, because your oral health is your systemic health. It's crazy how they're connected. So don't go for cheaper. Don't cut corners. Like, I know dental is so expensive. Health is so expensive. OHIP does not cover the real treatments that we require. And we actually don't know how expensive healthcare is until we're actually in that realm. And so for a lot of you that are wondering, like, why this route and why this much money, it's because it's literally the only thing that's working for me. I know it's out of.
You know what? Great reminder that if you are in good health, stay in preventative, because you just, the expense of getting sick is just way too high. And just to know there are solutions. And yes, you don't want to cheap out. You want to get to the root and you want to go to, our life is just so precious. And so I appreciate your warrior spirit and you're sharing your journey. I'm going to be glued to your story and supporting you the whole way and cheering you on, and can't wait to watch you on your comeback as you rise again into your best self yet. So thank you so much, Edina, and all the best to you in all the blessings going forward. It's all going to unfold in the best way towards your highest good.
It's already done.
It's
I
done.
can feel it. It's
Yeah.
done.
Yes.
Thank you so much for offering this platform to share my story, Allison. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Edina. We'll see you
Okay.
soon.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.